Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Celtic Way. It's Monday, the 5th of January. It's the start of a new year. Tony, it's been a bit of a difficult last week for Celtic, admittedly. We'll get into talking about everything to do with Celtic in a wee minute. First of all, I'll ask you, Tony, how you doing? You've not been on the show in a wee while. It's been obviously the Glasgow derby occurred at the weekend, that 3-1 defeat to Rangers. As I'm pulling up the sponsor, how are things with you?
I'm just sad, Ryan. I'm going to be honest. You and I were both there as punters on Saturday, and we had a phone call yesterday, and we both said that the levels of toxicity in that stadium were unbelievable. And a band of men and women have brought us to this stage, i.e. the Celtic board. And this is, Luke McCowan will go on to speak about him. He's talking about experiencing things new. I was around in the 90s, Ryan, but I don't recognise this version of Celtic Football Club at all. It's akin to the toxicity of the 90s, but I said to you yesterday, CFC, it's cannibalism FC at the minute. I saw grown men try to scale fences to run to where the Celtic board were seated in the ground. I've not seen that level of vitriol and hatred and anger since 1990s. And I was at a game in the 1990s, a New Year game. Celtic lost 4-2. Rangers were 2 up in jig time, 3-0 up in half an hour. I think you'll remember it as the one where the Mars bar was thrown at the directors, I believe. And according to the journalist there at the time, a Celtic supporter stood with his scarf like a noose dangling at the whole game. It's that level of anger, Ryan, that I'm witnessing from normal men and women who, when I used my father's season ticket, as I did on Saturday, people were foaming at the mouth, veins coming out their neck, because their moods are intrinsically linked to the fortunes of this football club. And as I say, this is a Celtic that I don't recognise. It's Celtic, Ryan, but not as we know it. And this manager should have been relieved of his duties. He shouldn't have been allowed to do the press conference after the Rangers game, Ryan. And Tisdale should have gone alongside him. That executive decision should have been taken. It's harder to lose 6 out of 8 games as a Celtic manager. It really is. It's unfathomable, and I don't buy into this entitlement and all that kind of nonsense narrative that's, the Celtic supporters want what's best for the club, and it's soul destroying. This football club's lost its identity, Ryan, and it's in badly need of healing because it's been ripped asunder by a group of people who tell you that they are die-hard, dyed-in-the-wool Celtic supporters. If they are, then they have to act, Ryan, and they have to act now. Manchester United have just parted company with Amorim. Aberdeen have parted company with Jimmy Thielen. How come other clubs, Rangers parted company with Russell Martin earlier this season? How can other clubs do the right thing and this Celtic board just sits there idle because they refuse to admit that they've made a mistake? Unbelievable, Ryan. And as I say, I just can't get my head around the levels of toxicity at the minute. And also, Brendan Rodgers, in a word, vindicated this current regime at Celtic, in a word, unrelatable.
Yeah. Before we get in and talk about everything to do with Celtic at the moment, and I know you've covered on quite a few points I want to touch upon, I'd like to say a massive shout out to our sponsors for this video. It's Simply Furniture. They are located in Hillington, Glasgow, and they're an independent brand dedicated to bringing luxury and contemporary style into homes across the UK. With over a decade of experience in furniture retail, they meticulously source only the finest pieces curated for quality, comfort and timeless design. From elegant sofas to statement dining sets, their handpicked collections offer exceptional value without ever compromising on style. Their dedicated team ensures that your furniture is delivered with care right to your doorstep. And if you want to see the beauty up close, you can visit their stunning showroom and mention the Celtic Way for a special in-store discount. And all of their links are in the description at the bottom of this video. Massive thank you to the over 500 people that have joined us so far on this. If you like what we do, hit that like button, and why not subscribe and get involved in the comments section, which is already looking very lively. Tony, Saturday felt like a point of no return for Wilfried Nancy's Celtic. And to be honest, I've been thinking about that quite a bit over the past couple of days. There's been, in my opinion, quite a few of those moments for Wilfried Nancy's Celtic. And it's quite a damning indictment that we're only a month into his reign as Celtic manager, and you could already point to 3 or 4 instances of where that sort of rhetoric could be applicable, which is really, really worrying in itself. But you know, after the positivity of the first half against Rangers, in which Yang scores an absolute screamer, a goal that has been tarred, unfortunately, by what occurred in the second half of that game in the end result, a goal that will always have that asterisk next to it. It's just a nice goal. It's not involved in a Celtic win. It's actually involved in a really adverse Celtic result. From first half to second half, Tony, it just felt as if the end of the road for Wilfried Nancy. Yet 2 days later, it would seem that he's still in place, and he will still be in place for this weekend against Dundee United. Other teams, you mentioned them, with Jimmy Tillane, Manchester United, Ruben Amorim. You've got Chelsea with Enzo Maresca as well, although that one was maybe a little bit different than the other two, given his comments. Yeah. Amorim made similar comments. Other teams are making that decision to let go of their manager when it isn't working. Surely Celtic should be doing the same at this point.
Without a doubt. As I say, that decision should have been taken on Saturday, Ryan, after that football match. That 6 out of 7. How can you lose 75% of your first 8 games as Celtic manager? That, to me, that's an impossibility. You know, what it should be. And one of them being a National Cup final as well. You've capitulated in the second half against Hearts, St Mirren, Dundee United, Rangers. I mean, it's incredible. And they rallied briefly in the first half on Saturday. You know, and even then, I sat there and I thought, it's still not enough. You know, the deficiencies in your team where you know that there's a Celtic, you need a striker of repute. Could have buried Rangers and put them out of sight, but they made one tactical change, Ryan, and Celtic carved open in the second half and did not respond to it. And I remember saying this 5 years ago, during the season that shall not be named, Ryan, right? And it's words that I always thought I'd never have to utter them again. And I implored the Celtic board to get Celtic out this mess. And I honestly, they come back to me again today, because it's the same thing. It's a falling asleep at the wheel again, despite being repeatedly told. Those numbers are jumping up, Ryan, as you say, thanks to this over 730 odd people that are watching now. But this is what I said at the time, and it's people will recognise it. And I said, where there was unity, you've brought discord. Where there was truth, you've brought error. Where there was faith, you brought doubt. And where there was hope, you brought despair. They've done it again. They continually do that. This is not a board that aims to be world class in everything that they do. They can't. If that's that, and they should hang their heads in shame if they really do think that they're doing a good job. You and I are hurting this morning, and many other Celtic supporters that were at that game today. The players are hurting. Luke McCowan told you. Luke McCowan's comments, man. I mean, how's that for saying we're not buying what this guy's selling?
Shall we go into those comments?
This guy's been foisted upon us, and there's nothing we can do about it. And he's the manager. He's got nothing positive to say about him, Ryan, other than he's the manager, and we have to try and do what he says. But at this moment in time, he is bamboozled along with the supporters and the captain, who has not uttered a syllable since he came in. That's almost telling for me as well.
Yeah, completely. Let's go into those comments that Luke McCowan made after the game. Now, we kind of had a rough idea that they were coming post-match. We knew that they were embargoed. People were talking about those Luke McCowan comments in the media, so we knew that they were coming. We knew that they were quite scathing, or maybe not scathing, but maybe the actual way that he said the comments, not the words that he was saying weren't scathing as such, but it was the way in which he said it, and the accompanying audio really does paint a clear picture as to where Celtic are at the moment under Wilfried Nancy, and more specifically where the players are under Wilfried Nancy, which is concerning in itself. He after the game, these comments were held until 12 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. He said, this is Luke McCowan saying this, it's hard to tell the fans that we're hurting. They're watching it week in, week out. When's it ever been this bad? It's never. You're asking fans to react to something that for the first time they're seeing it, and us as players for the first time we're feeling it. It's not nice. It haunts you every minute of every day when you're not winning. You go home, not speak to anybody, sit on the couch, don't move, stare at a black screen instead of having the darts or having the football highlights on. It's nothing. But that is what comes with playing with Celtic. You need to take that pressure on. You need to go out there. You need to show personality. And at times within games, we've not done that good enough. Within the structure, we've not done it good enough. But the message now is we need to stick together and keep going. When he was asked if the players were still behind Wilfried Nancy, the Celtic manager, he said, we have to be. He's the manager. I don't know what else to say on it, but he is the manager. So what do? We just need to be together collectively, get better together and know what we did wrong in the second half and go from there. That was me putting it blunt. If you ask me when Martin was here, did we believe in the manager? I would have said, yeah, we have to because he's the manager. That's the only thing I can say. He's the manager. We need to do what he's implementing in the ground. And in the first half, we did. Second half, they changed it. We didn't. And it's as simple as that. Football's moments. We had chances in the second half. It's not as if it was an absolute dominant performance from them. I beg to differ in the second half. They just had 2 chances more than us and they took them. They've got no other option but to continue going on. It's hardly a vote of confidence from Luke McCowan. Yes, he's saying things, but the way in which he was saying them point to a very different outlook in the Celtic dressing room. I think that's another media conference we could put alongside Austin Trusty pre-Roma. There's other ones there too, Anthony Ralston. There's other instances, Liam Scales too, after the cup final. Not a lot of confidence, it would seem, from the out, and we can only go off what the players are saying to the media. That's the only in that we've got. We're not in the dressing room, so we only hear what the players have to say. But it's hardly a ringing endorsement for the manager, is it, Tony?
Ryan, that there, what Luke McCowan said, disregard everything that he said. It's what he didn't say. He was standing there with a placard that was saying, sack the manager. You know me, ... connect the dots and join the lines. That's what he was saying there, without actually saying it. This guy, we're not buying what he's selling. This guy's out his depth. What's the football SOS code for SOS? That's what Luke McCowan was saying there, Ryan. Someone do something about this. But we back the manager because he's the manager. You don't have to like your bosses or respect them, Ryan, but you have to perform for them and do a job. And he was sort of saying to you, we're not performing, we're not doing a job, and it's because of this guy. But again, you go back to the root cause of it all, and it's Dermot Desmond. Let's have a look here, Ryan, at things that have happened. Dominic Mackay came in, wanted to change things up, didn't he? Wanted to really restructure this football club in terms of their everyday dealings. Wanted to drag it into the 21st century. He was binned after 60 odd days, wasn't he? Brendan Rodgers wanted to take Celtic to a different plane in terms of the footballing structure and the footballing capabilities. Compete at a European level, a decent European level. Told that he was a pernicious influence, and he was gotten rid of. There's a pattern of behaviour here, stemming right from the top, where the principal shareholder has 100% of the say in what happens at this football club, despite owning just slightly more than 31% of the shares. And nobody with any backbone challenges that, Ryan. And that's what gets to me about the rest of the Celtic board. None of them can turn around and say, you know what, this is wrong. You appoint a former Exeter City management team, you get Exeter City-like products on the park, and you're going to say to me that Celtic are in the throes of signing a new player, and you're looking at it and thinking, £2 million, another project, 20-year-old. Jamal Simpson-Pusey has left the building. Inamura has left the building. Is that a shock to you, Ryan? It really is. It a shock to you? that these guys have left the building because they weren't good enough to play for this football club. And then the next signing that's coming in, you're just like utterly perplexed, bamboozled. And, you know, the only man that's making all of these calls is the man at the top, and the man who should make the biggest call and start the healing process right now, Ryan, and bin this manager.
Yeah, and I think that most people are on that boat now. In fact, the vast majority are on that boat now. After I always thought it would be that would always be the case, and it would be a breaking point for a lot of people. A home loss to your Glasgow rivals in the Glasgow derby, you know, who then go level on points for you despite having their worst start to a season in decades. They make the change and they actually see results, certainly domestically under Danny Rowe. Celtic have seen domestic results change, but not in a good way under Wilfried Nancy. Now, it was an indifferent start to the season under Brendan Rodgers, but even Rodgers didn't have this sort of form. You know, the form or the adverse form or lack of form or just poor form that Wilfried Nancy has got at the moment points towards a manager who is not doing the basics at the club, which is to win football matches. As much as the players, in my opinion, are to blame for a large part of this, the buck stops at the manager. The manager puts the team out. The manager picks the team, and he picks the individual players that are going to play on any given day, on every given match day. And he's not getting results at the moment. No. And the problem for him is that the interim manager previous to him was getting results with the same players. You know, he didn't have any transfer window to alleviate any problems with the squad. He had to use the players that Brendan Rodgers, Paul Tisdale and the like signed in the summer. And he still got, 7 wins out of 8 in his interim tenure. And the only defeat was to a really good Michelin side. He beat Rangers, albeit it was a bit of a struggle. They went down to 10 men, had to go to extra time in order to beat Rangers. But they beat Rangers. The history books will say that Celtic beat Rangers at Hampden in that semi-final. They beat the likes of Hibs. They beat Dundee at home. Nancy isn't doing that at Celtic at the moment, and you just can't see where things are going to positively for him. There was those 2 results against a poor Aberdeen side who have since got rid of their manager, and the bottom of the league side, Livingston, who are, you know, they're probably going to go down at the end of the season. They count for nothing almost, because in the big games all throughout this season, but more specifically under Nancy, Celtic haven't turned up.
Ryan, the more he stays, the more Wilfried Nancy stays in situ, the more toxic it's going to get. I don't blame Wilfried Nancy per se. He is being propelled into the wrong movie. I'm talking about on a human level, right? You know, you heard it and you saw it for yourself. But the more he stays, and then I've heard a lot of people say they're not going back to Celtic Park until he's removed from office, right? And I also witnessed all the social media footage of the players being roundly booed by supporters coming out. I think that's wrong as well. The players are in the midst of something, and I know they're not entirely blameless here, but the Celtic supporters' anger should be directed at certain people. And I think the players the other day I can understand it, but I think it's wrong. I think their anger should be targeted at one specific set of people, and that's the Celtic Board of Directors, because it's them that have dragged Celtic to the abyss here. And, you know, the players are only acting under instruction from a manager who's clearly out of his depth, Ryan. And we always talk about getting it. Hasn't got it from the moment he walked in the door. Will never get it. And his presence is now causing, as I say, ordinary men, women, children, call it what you like, at the games to really get angry and vent their spleen. And it's horrible. Remember when Celtic Park used to be a fun place to go? It was a joyous place. You know, it wasn't that long ago. And I know people are saying that the players aren't blameless. I know the players aren't blameless, but they're caught in a situation here as well. It's the same players that went to Feyenoord under Martin O'Neill and got herograms for a wonderful performance. It's the same players that won 7 out of 8 under Martin O'Neill and were saying they had got Celtic back in contention for everything. It's the same players that Martin O'Neill brought joy and harmony and that harmonious feel-good factor back to Celtic. So, whilst I can understand, I never speak for the Celtic supporters. Everybody can vent their anger and their spleen in whatever way they want, and if you want to turn it on the players, then that's the individual prerogative. I'm just saying that for me, I felt that was wrong. For me personally, I felt it was wrong, because I think the players are also trapped in this movie too, with a main protagonist who, let's be honest, it has to be in borrowed time, Ryan. It has to be, because this situation can't go on. And if the board of directors and Dermot Desmond allow it to continue, then they're spiting the Celtic supporters. They are gaslighting the Celtic supporters. And if you treat supporters like morons, then don't be surprised if a moronic element comes around and things start to happen like it did on Saturday and people react the way they do.
Supporters will go to extreme measures to ensure that their voices are heard, and at the moment it would seem as if the supporters aren't being heard. At post-match, just right after the game, there was it's just symptomatic of the problems that are going on at Celtic at the moment. The players still continuing to do a lap of honour. I think it would have been more advisable if they took a leaf out of the manager's book and went straight up the tunnel to avoid any criticism that was coming their way. I think
probably the only thing since you got here, Ryan.
That is a fair point, but I understand why they still do it, because they want to show their support to the support that are continuing to go to the games. We'll see what sort of numbers come to the game this Saturday against Dundee United, of course, but it's one of those things that you feel it would just incite the supporters even more. Unfortunately, I know it's a nod and it's a show of appreciation, but at this point in time, it's not helping matters. Just in terms of, I know we've been speaking a lot about off-field issues and the fact that Celtic need to make changes, but as it stands, Wilfried Nancy will be the manager for that game against Dundee United on Saturday, against another manager who's facing a little bit of pressure in Jim Goodwin. You'll always face pressure after losing a derby to your biggest rivals, which was the case for Dundee United against Dundee at Tannadice last weekend. There's some decisions, I think there's some, if miraculously, and it's terrible to use words like that, but it seems that we're in this situation already when it comes to Wilfried Nancy. If he is to miraculously turn things around, because it is a really desperate and dire situation that he's in, does he have to start making bold decisions with personnel? And in the first place that I've got to point out, the stats don't lie, the performances don't lie. Celtic have got a goalkeeper that is letting in, that is making mistakes every game. At the moment. Has a serious decision got to be made in that position regarding the goalkeeper? Because if you want to stop goals going in, you've maybe got to get to the root of the problem. And I know the defence is the problem at the moment as well, with the way the formation is. In fact, there's only one centre-back and two full-backs playing as centre-backs. But the goalkeeper is a real problem area for Celtic at the moment, and a decision's got to be made.
Ryan, I think that Saturday's game is a further thing away from Celtic supporters' minds at this moment in time on personnel. I think a lot of them just want the manager binned along with Tisdale, and take it from there. But if you're talking about personnel, and lots of people in the chat saying the players are. I never said the players aren't entirely blameless. Of course, they play their part in this. But if you listen to McCowan and then people are saying that their comment there that he should be sacked for it.
Thanks for the super chat, Buzz. Appreciate it.
I think that what I just said earlier, and I alluded to that, was it's what he didn't say. That's the feeling in the dressing room. Tony Ralston came in after the Motherwell game and he mentioned togetherness and unity and spirit. Must have been about 6 or 7 times. He was handed that sheet, just keep saying those words, buzzwords, buzzwords. And I asked him, I said, there didn't seem to be any evidence of that, Tony. You can say these words. This is a team that's fractured beyond repair, Ryan. It needs healing. And I agree with your original point. Anything going towards the goal now seems to be going in, doesn't it? In terms of Kasper Schmeichel.
Well, that was certainly the case with Mikey Moore's goal at the weekend, because that was akin to something that you would see at five-a-sides when a goalkeeper doesn't want to play in goals and he wants to play.
The goal.
He essentially punched it into the back of the net. And Kasper Schmeichel's been a good player for Celtic, but I'm talking about the here and now when it comes to a goalkeeper, and he is struggling. And I believe that it's hurting the team having him in between the sticks at the moment.
I'm not disputing that logic either, Ryan. We mentioned it the other day as well. We brought it up. I'm just thinking that I think a lot of Celtic supporters' immediate priority is to see this manager walk, and then whoever comes in an interim capacity, they can work on team structure. You know, I said it at the time, Martin O'Neill would win football matches, and you would come to that point where why would you relieve him of his duties, let him take it to the end of the season? It seemed the logical choice, and it's no hindsight. You know, it was, you know, people said, he struggled to beat Hibs, he struggled to beat Dundee. Listen to yourself. He beat Dundee, he beat Hibs. It's much more preferable to the guy that's in situ just now. So we work in style and finesse later, you get results, and then the rest will come. And it was a harmonious camp. People were talking about enjoying their football. Players were happy to talk. Players were playing with a smile on their face. The manager was cracking jokes all through his press conferences. He steadied that ship, and all of a sudden it's just been sunk. And my overriding emotion, Ryan, it's no anger. I'm past to kind of paraphrase Wilfried Nancy himself. I've gone beyond anger, Ryan. I'm at the sadness stage, because if there's Celtic I don't recognise, it's fractured, it's splintered, it's, you know, and the players are more or less telling you, the ones that come up and do the press conference. And Callum McGregor does not want thrust in a situation where he would be as honest as the day is long and say something that he might regret, which is why he's not done it. So let's look at who has performed the press duties just now. Tony Ralston, they dragged out Arne Engels, didn't they? Paulo Bernardo, Luke McCowan's done it a couple of times. You know what I mean? Austin Trusty did
Julian Araujo, who's just joined the club.
Yeah, you know. So, and they are giving them this mantra, togetherness, spirit, unity. No Celtic supporter in their right mind sees that. And it's all stemming from the top. And again, I think that in itself is an insult to you and I and many other Celtic supporters' football intelligence. You know, the modicum of football intelligence that we believed we have. And it can't go on, but my overriding emotion is yet frustration. Of course there's frustration, but it's utter sadness, Ryan, at what this football team has become, because, as I say, I can liken it to the 90s. I never ever thought we would go back there. And I just feel that I witnessed something on Saturday that I never thought I'd seen in a long, long time. That level of sheer vitriol and toxicity around the stadium. I spoke to you yesterday with a conversation off air, and I said the fans at one point in the game had turned their back on the actual football match, not to do a Poznan, just turned their back on a football match to vent their spleen at people who were sitting away, and just guys try to climb the fence and try to storm the Bastille. And you said to me, yeah, because there was nothing on the pitch that was worth watching. Granted, but we are in danger of losing what we set out to do at any start of any given season, and that's blow the title. And we're blowing this title, and we could end up third place by midweek, couldn't we?
I hate to sound defeatist, but that's if you were to ask me right now, are Celtic going to win anything this year? You would say no. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people would say no because they
But
don't
it's
believe in
salvageable,
it.
Ryan, isn't it? It's salvageable if you act now. That's my point. You can salvage the wreckage here, and by acting now, what are we going to wait till we're completely out of everything? I tell you what, see if you're Auchinleck Talbot players, you're fancying this big time.
Yeah, that is true, and we've got that to worry about later on in the month. But we've got Dundee United, who travelled to Celtic Park at the weekend. It's going to be interesting to see how many fans turn up for that game, because even just looking at the comments section, it's a very, very busy place, and it's difficult to moderate at this point. Everybody's just having their say. Be a better chance for people to come in later on in the week, but it's very, very busy. We've got 1,700 people watching at this moment in time, which are truly incredible scenes, and we really do appreciate each and every one of you. If you like what we do on the channel and on the website, go to www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. You'll get all the latest news regarding Celtic, both positive and negative. Unfortunately, there's more negative than positive at this moment in time. All you need to do is go to www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Or if you want the free alternative, you can press the subscribe button on YouTube and you'll get notified when we go live with these videos. We really do enjoy doing these videos, despite the topics. It's great, and it's quite affirming to see so many people come in at 20 to 11 in the morning, are desperate for their say. We really do appreciate each and every one of you for coming in. The other news that came out yesterday came out fairly early doors. I was on shift yesterday, so I covered this. But it would seem as if Celtic are closing in on their second signing of this January transfer window, which would point to the fact that the likes of Paul Tisdale, etc., are still in place, because these moves are still happening at this point in time. Celtic are on the brink of making Ivory Coast winger Jocelyn Ta-B the first permanent signing of under fire boss Wilfried Nancy, after submitting an increased offer, which was later said to be around £2 million. The 20-year-old is on loan at Hapoel Petah Tikva. You might remember their name, actually, because Leah Labada was at that team in Israel before he joined Celtic in 2021. He's on loan there from parent club Maccabi Netanya. He's sidelined with an ankle injury, although scans have revealed nothing serious, and he's set to be fit in 2 weeks' time. Reports in Israel have said that his move to Scottish football will be completed in the coming days and become the second signing of Nancy's after Julian Araujo, who joined from Bournemouth last week on loan. A spokesperson for Petah Tikva said, "We've been informed by Netanya that there's only been one official offer for Jocelyn Ta-B, and it was from Celtic. We expect him to leave in the coming days. The fee's been reported at around £2 million, which was later confirmed by other sources, of which £250,000 will go to his loan club as compensation for an early termination of his season-long loan." Celtic appear to have beaten off competition from Belgian side Ghent to land the wide man, who's played 20 times in the Israeli league this season and scored 2 goals with 2 further assists. I actually did to make the cardinal sin of watching some of his highlights on YouTube, which obviously can make any player look like an absolute world beater, but he has scored a couple of good goals while on loan for Petah Tikva this season. Tony, it's even though he is highly rated, even though a Belgian side are in from, which would point towards the fact that, that he does have something about him, it's not really what Celtic need at this moment in time, is it?
An injured project for a system where he doesn't play wingers when you're crying out for an out-and-out striker. Someday, somewhere, please make it make sense, because it doesn't anymore. Again, another insult to your modicum of football intelligence. Had Celtic had a striker in situ on Saturday, they would have been well in command and well ahead by the half-time interval. They don't, we know that. Yet why are we persisting in signing these players, project players, 20-year-old, injured, might be available in a couple of weeks. The hand of Tisdale and others all over it. Again, just another wonderful illustration of why these people are unfit for purpose. Ryan, you know the positions that Celtic need strengthened in. We should be going out there and recruiting them And then that's your worry, that they keep this management team and, the recruiters in situ, and they get this window and you're no further forward. This is a situation that just needs addressed, and it has to be addressed this week, or else you will play to an empty stadium, Ryan, because the fans will vote with their feet. I saw a lot of stuff on social media last night, calling for a total boycott of the Dundee United game. Again, that's down to each an individual fan's own conscience. If they're going to boycott the game, so be it. But I think
it might not even be a boycott, Tony. It might just be fans apathetic of the whole situation. They might actually not even be choosing to boycott the game. They might not even be that bothered at watching football at the moment, which could be even worse because it would show a lack of passion. Yeah,
once apathy sets in, that's a real concern, and I think it has. And as I said earlier, my overriding emotion is just sadness and how it's come to this. But if you add apathy into that equation, as I say, up to the individual Celtic supporter to do what they feel is right come Saturday. That's why, and I wasn't being derisory and derogatory towards your question about Kasper Schmeichel. I just think, should he play in the team? I think that's the furthermost thing away from Celtic supporters' mind at this minute in time. They want to see the manager and Tisdale removed from office as soon as possible, and whoever comes in can then take charge of footballing matters and discuss various things like that. We're going to have a whole week of this, Ryan, until Friday. If he gives his press conference on Friday, then you'll know he's staying. And I think it's
Tony, I just don't see where he... After Friday's press conference, in which the manager went into an impassioned 7-minute monologue on why he should stay at the club and why he needs more time to implement his ideas, what tact does he use next? What strategy does he use next to try and persuade those who don't believe in him, of which there are many? In fact, I would probably say the vast majority of Celtic fans. I don't believe that's too controversial to say at this moment in time, given his record and the way that the team are playing. What strategy is he going to put in place for the next press conference, if he's allowed into a press conference? If he's allowed into a press conference, if he is permitted to take the next press conference. There was a lot of maybe hopefulness online yesterday and today that when the stock exchange was going to be open, that there would be an announcement to the London Stock Exchange that the manager would be departing in order to inform shareholders of any big moves, positively or negatively, to do with shares. That, as of yet, has not been the case. So what tact will he use on Friday if he is to sit in front of the media? Will he say anything different? Will he say the same tired tropes, of which is really worrying rhetoric to use a month into a manager's reign? Where will he go, Tony?
This is a manager that has managed to unravel this club in just over 3 weeks. The club has unravelled under this managerial reign. And Fridays was a bit of self-pity and woe is me. And then after the Rangers,
it didn't have the desired impact or the desired effect he thought that he did, in my opinion. And I know there was some fans that liked that passion from him. But I think a lot of people just want to see results on the football pitch, and they didn't see that on Saturday.
After the Rangers game, it was delusional for me. A lot of delusion in what he said prior to that, but it was even more delusional for me after the Rangers game. I only listened to certain things, Ryan. I normally listen to the whole press conference. I couldn't bring myself, because I just thought there is nothing that Wilfried Nancy could have said to me after that could have assuaged me or soothed me or comforted me in any shape or form. And I saw the reaction to him. And as I say, I've got every sympathy for him as a person, being in this movie and being more or less set up to fail. But his presence now is causing the rank and file amongst the Celtic supporters to lose it. And I mean lose it big time. And that's a Celtic, as I said at the top of the programme, I don't recognise it, I don't like it, I don't think anybody likes it at all. And if those at the top can't see that from a base level, then you know, what can you do? You know, one man and one man only calls the shots. And I think someone else mentioned it, actually, that he famously said, if there's 1,000,001 people, you know, or there's 1,000,000 people and one person is against it as myself, then I'll go with my own advice. I just can't fathom why any of that Celtic board would wake up today and think keeping this man in their job is a good idea. And I just, and we're going to limp on, we're going to have the same conversation tomorrow and on Wednesday and on Thursday. And then on Friday, we'll find out if he comes in to speak. And I don't think he'll have the words, Ryan, to inspire. Because as I say, this football club at this minute in time, and I think you'll find it's unrelatable. It's unrelatable to anybody. You know, unrelatable to you, unrelatable to myself. My father, just he's fallen out with his football club, fallen out with Wilfried Nancy. He's not going back till he's removed from office, and that's a huge thing for someone like my father to say, because he's the reason why.
Mine's is the same, Tony. You don't need to worry, because mine's is on the same boat as well.
Yeah, you know, but I'm just sort of, I'm saying these are sane, rational men who are your go-to and can calm you down in certain situations. And when they are saying things like that, I say to myself, wow, it really has. Excuse me, I'm suffering with I think everybody's had a strain of this over.
We're all suffering, Tony.
We're all suffering, exactly, aye. But I mean, when you go to that length, you know, to really ostracize and alienate your fan base, you know, it's incredible. I really find it incredulous as to how it's come to this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a good place to end off today's show, because otherwise we would be going in circles. And it feels like we have been going in circles for the past month since Wilfried Nancy was appointed as manager. You know, we've not had a lot of happy Mondays recently on this morning briefing on a Monday, the first of the week. Unfortunately, that's the situation that Celtic find themselves in at the moment. They've not taken action yet. I do believe that there's more problems at the club apart from Wilfried Nancy. I think they're from the top down, to be honest with you. But at the same time, I believe that Wilfried Nancy is an embodiment of the board, and it was their decision to bring him in, and it's on them that he is struggling in the way that the team is struggling. As much as it's down to the manager and his tactics and his stubbornness to change certain things, or you know, his inability to change things at half-time, which allows other teams into games, it's on, in my opinion, it's on the board, and there needs to be wholesale changes in order for the club to move forward as a functioning institution in the 21st century, because I think that it still operates as if it's in the late 90s, early 2000s. There needs to be a modernisation of the club. We've been saying it for years, maybe even decades now. It might just take one season like this for everything to come home to roost and all the problems to happen. Celtic could be in third place by the end of tomorrow. You know, with the likes of Hibs and Aberdeen, Hibs and Motherwell continuing to win games. It's a precarious situation, and Celtic could find themselves, despite the results not hurting their league position at this moment in time. You might find if they have another couple of adverse results, then they might start slipping down, because at the moment you would put their form to that of a Livingston or a Dundee. Well, actually Dundee are in good form at the moment. Maybe a Kilmarnock or a St Mirren at the moment. That's what Celtic are. That's the sort of form book that Celtic have got. Any final thoughts, Tony? I see that you've recovered. Any final thoughts before we head off this morning?
What's one of my mantras I always say to you, Ryan, about watching Celtic? It's always result dependent, isn't it? The last 8, 2 out of the last 8, it's just unacceptable, isn't it? And that's why I think Celtic supporters they're exasperated and frustrated. Yeah, exactly. So, you know,
that's exactly what I meant, by the way. No disrespect to those clubs. I'm just talking about the clubs that are down near the bottom of the table, and that's the sort of form that you would expect from those teams. And Celtic, their current form mirrors that.
I also wanted to say thank you to over 2,000 people who joined us on the live show today. I'm not surprised by those numbers, to be honest. I think a lot of people maybe wanted to hear what you and I had to say, Ryan, but I never take it for granted. And that's an incredible amount of people watching us live. And you try and pick your way through it, don't you? And it's, win, lose or draw, you have to front up and you have to give your honest opinion. I usually say humorously, but there's not much humour kicking around, Ryan. Even gallows humour is in very short supply at this minute in time. But you try and rationalise things and be as lucid and erudite as you can and not coming on and ranting. But, your passion for this football club dictates how you feel. And, but you're not blind to certain things. And you have to say that, whilst it's a difficult subject to talk about at the moment, it's not always sweetness and light. You can't win all the time. And you have to speak about adversity, but we're trying to do it as openly and as honestly and professionally as possible. And I think the fact that over 2,000 people have joined us today to get my take on it, I'm very grateful for that. And I thank you guys for coming on, because it is difficult times, but we're just trying to negotiate and navigate our way through that, Ryan, as best we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And people can call it entitled or whatnot, and I've seen that argument from so many opposition fans over the past couple of days. I believe it's just down to winning mentality. When standards aren't kept high, then naturally there will be an outcry because those standards are slipping. I wouldn't say it's entitlement whatsoever. Say what you want. That's just my own personal opinion on things. I think it's just a winning mentality and a want and a need for Celtic to continue doing well in all the trophies that they compete in. It's a slippery slope. These are bad times. Sure, the good times will come back soon enough. But at the moment, Celtic just need to go through it, make the necessary changes that I think we're all calling out for at this moment in time, and get back on the horse and try and salvage this season in whatever way that means, whether that means win the Scottish Cup, a European run, rally in the league, try and get closer to the top spot. It was only a couple of games ago that they could have nearly been in first position. It's been up and down, but Celtic have got to get back on the horse somehow, though I believe that changes have to be made in order for that to become viable. Tony, it's been a pleasure being on with you this morning. Thank you to each and every one of you for joining us. Right now, the current figure is at 2,073 people. Absolutely incredible numbers. Thank you to each and every one of you. If you like what we do and you don't already subscribe to us, please do. You'll be notified when we next go live. Big thank you to It's Simply Furniture for sponsoring this video and all the videos that we do. Quick shout out to our website on www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. You'll get all the latest news, views, and analysis regarding the club that you love. Tony, thank you very much for coming on this morning.
I'll say one word, Ryan. Give a silver lining. Salvageable.
For now, yeah, it's salvageable for now. I'll add that. But the longer it goes on, the harder it gets to salvage what is left of this season. Tony, absolute pleasure being on with you this morning. Thank you to everybody for joining us. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow to discuss everything to do with Celtic, both positively and negatively. Until then, enjoy your day, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Cheers, guys.